Hisbah comes from the root hasaba, which means arithmetic difficulty, sum or price. The verb yahsabu means to compute or to measure. The verbal word ihtasaba implies to ponder, as in to anticipate a recompense in the hereafter by recording a good conduct on one's account with Allah. The use of the noun ihtasaba become connected with the acts of a person who encourage people to do good and prevents them from doing evil in the expectation of receiving reward in the afterlife. The institution of Hisbah played a critical role in instilling ethical values in Muslim communities throughout history, particularly in the early days of Islam. Hisbah, according to Ibn al-Qayyim, is the application of such principles that regulate individuals in order to make them observe what is widely designated as good and avoid what is commonly identified as evil. It serves as a guidance for the Islamic states in terms of monitoring, regulating, and interfering in economic activity. Considering business dishonesty and fraud are organically rooted in social behavior, the state must ensure that Muslims conduct their business activities in a lawful and responsible way. Fast forward to the Umayyad era, the institution of Hisbah continued to evolve until it reached its pinnacle during the Abbasid Caliphate and in Muslim Spain. It is a unique Islamic organization for public welfare, promoting good, removing evil, and defending people's rights. To explain further, during the Umayyad period, the institution of Hisbah was led by a Muhtasib. Muhtasib was in charge of the market and supervised it. He was responsible for overseeing the price of commodities, riba transaction, the selling of alcoholic beverages, and ensuring that accurate weights and measures are being used. He was responsible for establishing and maintaining religious value as well as public morals. People who departed from Hisbah activities might be checked and punished by a Muhtasib. Next is the Hizbah Institution during the Abbasid period. All of the early Abbasid caliphs' efforts and attention were focused on the affairs of their state. They did not overhaul the Umayyad administration system, but they did make the required adjustments and appointed qualified administrators who they closely oversaw. During the early Abbasid period, Hisbah became a government department, sometimes under the Ministry of Law and sometimes on its own, and it remained so in Ottoman Turkey and Mughal India until the late 19th century. The Muhtasib presided over the Diwan al-Hisbah, whose job was encouraging and directing people to do good and avoid wrong in their many ways of life. One of the prominent Islamic scholars during the Abbasid period is al-Mawardi. In his two writings, Al-Ahkam al-Sultaniyah and Adab al-Din wal-Dunya, al-Mawardi examines economic challenges. One of the topics discussed in his first book is the government's responsibility to keep the market functioning. Besides, Ibn Taymiyyah, through his work such as the books Al-Hizbah fi al-Islam and Al-Siyasah al-Shari'ah fi Islah al-Ra'yi wal-Ra'iyah, has made significant contributions to the Islamic economics. Both books are concerned with market mechanisms and prices, which the government should administer and manage. In the Western perspective, there is a concept called governance. Governance is defined as a government's power to establish and enforce rules as well as provide service, irrespective of whether or not it is democratic. The effectiveness of agents in carrying out of the goals of principles, not the objectives that principles set, is really what governance is all about. The government is an entity that may perform its function better or worse. Governance, as opposed to politics, is thus about execution, or what has traditionally fallen under the framework of public management. On the other hand, the policy and regulatory frameworks that government use to regulate the economy are referred to as economic governance, and microeconomic and macroeconomic management are two major aspects of policy making that are covered under economic governance. Islamic economy emphasizes the importance of the proper role of government in the economic system without abandoning people's interests in the field of economic activity. A few of the administration's tasks in regulating market forces, such as price, is to set up a market surveillance or Hisbah. The establishment of this Hisbah as a regulated entity or overseer, particularly in terms of price control and market players.
Hisbah has been practiced by Muslims since the time of Prophet Muhammad SAW and clearly established in the time of the companions. The institution of Hisbah is still in practice in this contemporary time, not only by Muslims but also in the other countries where the majority are non-Muslims.
Ibn Taymiyyah and al-Mawardi, both of these scholars has written Hisbah in their books. So according to Ibn Taymiyyah, Prophet Muhammad SAW used to check the market. From Abu Hurairah, one day that Prophet Muhammad SAW went to a market and he stopped at a seller who was selling grains. And Prophet Muhammad put his hand in the grains and found out that the grains was wet. And the seller told Prophet that the grain got wet. And the Prophet asked that why the seller did not put the wet grain on the top, so that the buyer or the consumer know the condition of the grains. And Prophet Muhammad said that those who are cheating are not among us. And from this event, Ibn Taymiyyah concluded that the concept of Hisbah came from Prophet himself. And to understand more on the concept of Hisbah, we need to know the principles and the rules of the Hisbah. And we should study more on why the Hisbah is very important in management. So according to Ibn Taymiyyah and al-Mawardi, both of these scholars said that the main goals of Hisbah is to enjoy the good and to forbid the evil, or known as al-Ma'ruf nahi munkar.
From the both scholars, Hisbah is a body or an institution that can help to assist the management of the state by enjoining the society to the goodness and prohibiting all kinds of evilness or matters that are against the Islamic law. According to al-Mawardi, enjoining goodness and forbidding evilness can be classified into three parts, which are regarding the right of Allah, the right of humankind, and the common right. The right of Allah can be discussed in three parts, which are in ibadah, mu'amalat, munakahat, and the matters of prohibition in Islamic teaching or mahzurat. For the matters of ibadah, the officer in charge, or known as muhtasib, has the right to forbid the Muslim that did not fulfill the obligation of ibadah without any strong reason. For the case of mu'amalah and munakahat, the muhtasib has the right to prevent any unlawful marriage, adultery, riba in market transaction, and cheating in selling and buying. The right of humankind is about all the matters that relate to the affairs among the people. This right can be divided into two parts, which are the general right and prerogative right. The general right of humankind refers to the needs of the societies. The Hisbah needs to cater to all the problems related to the needs of the societies like water supply, food supply in the market, the problem border of a region, and other arising matters. Prerogative rights refer to the right of the muhtasib to solve the problems between two parties. Next, for the matters of common rights, the right can be seen clearly through the example. For example, the muhtasib gives advice by asking a father or the wali to marry a woman with a good man, ensure the divorced woman to comply with the Islamic teaching during the iddah period, and also a farmer giving nice food to the animals. The Hisbah is also responsible to forbid the society from disgraceful any person in the society. This right involves the relationship between all the creatures and Allah. Other than that, the traditional function of Hisbah are divided into three groups, which are market regulations and enforcement of ethics in business, become the middle party of state and the society, and lastly as to preserve and protect the public interest of the society. In the contemporary world, the function of Hisbah can be identifiable in many institutions like the court, the religious affairs advisor, the ombudsman office, the police institution, and etc.
Since we can say that Hisbah is really important, the muhtasib should have a strong responsibility and committed to perform his duty. So to become a muhtasib, what is the qualification and the duty that a muhtasib should perform? So we have two opinions. According to Ibn Taymiyyah, the muhtasib should have high level of integrity, morality, and have capability to deal with the matters of laws, the matters with the market, and the matters in the industrial sector. So on the other hand, al-Mawardi said that the muhtasib should be a free man, fair and just, have great judgment, and also have strong Islamic teaching in himself.
Other than that, among the roles of muhtasib is supply and provide the necessities for the society. The muhtasib should regularly check on the availability of necessities and essential goods. He was also obligated to supervise the industry where he need to stop any harmful production and ensure the products that were produced were safe to be used. Next, it is a duty for the muhtasib to supervise the service sector. He need to ensure that the service provider are giving their service with honesty and properly. He also needs to supervise the trade to avoid any deceitful act in the market. He should check on a regular basis on the weight measurement, the quality of the products, and also forbids the traders from involving in any transactions that are related to riba. Ibn Taymiyyah also indicated that the muhtasib should prevent any act of hoarding in the market, which only benefits certain parties and the society will negatively affected. The act of interception of supply is also one of the responsibilities of muhtasib to prevent it. In addition, Ibn Taymiyyah stated that the muhtasib not only have the responsibility in the economic activities, but he also has the responsibilities for the religious matters. From the above statement, the role of muhtasib should not be limited to economic activities only. The muhtasib should have the capability to carry these responsibilities.
So that is Hisbah from Islamic perspective. But how about Hisbah or considered economic government in the Western perspective? Are they the same or different?
The Western society did not use the term Hisbah to refer to any institution that had the same function as the Hisbah. There are a few words and concepts that can be referred to as having the same function or practicing like the Hisbah. Among the concepts are economic governance, good governance, the term supervision, accountability and administration in any management of institutions. The Department of Economy and Social Affairs of the United Nations mentioned that economic governance is the well-defined institutional framework that has competency in implementing the economic policy provided by the government. It is also stated that the economic governance aims to fight corruption in management or economic activities, having effective institutions and services, create more jobs, and to create competitiveness and enhance business activities. Based on the discussion, the concept of economic governance has become broader, and there are also additional functions and characteristics which sometimes have the similarity with the role of Hizbah Institution. It can be concluded that the concept of Hisbah also be implemented by Westerners, and the only difference is that the term and a few additional ideas in the concept.
In this modern world, the concept of Hisbah has been implemented and adapted in a few institutions in the world. In the early days of Islam's implementation of Hisbah, it was primarily concerned with the government responsibility to monitor and patrol the markets and less with the issue of weight and measures. There are several countries that have been working on implementing the concept of Hisbah in their institutions. Saudi Arabia and Africa are examples of countries that try to implement Islamic law and Hisbah. In addition, some areas in Indonesia are also working on enforcing the Islamic law. In the context of Indonesia, one example of the area that has been working on this is Aceh, in which they have established institutions named Wilayatul Hisbah. In the context of Malaysia, the application of Hisbah has been indirectly applied in some of the institutions into this time. In the year of 1999 to 2004, there was a body called Hisbah that existed in the state of Terengganu during the administration of one of the Islamic parties in Malaysia. During that time, the Terengganu Hisbah Commission existed to be one of the government institutions that had specific term of reference. Today, the purpose of Hisbah is to protect members of the society from the violence, preserve their faith, and guarantee the welfare of the people in both religious and worldly matters, according to the Sharia. The institutions that perform the purpose of Hisbah have their own name, title, and even approach in doing it. The application of Hisbah can be found in different aspects. The first one is in terms of religious aspect. Under this aspect, most of the tasks are to safeguard morality and concerns that arise related to Muslim worship. This specific job falls under the jurisdiction of the Department State of Islamic Religion, which is responsible for enforcing the Islamic law efficiently in line with the concept of Hisbah, which is to invite ma'ruf and prevent munkar. In this Department State of Islamic Religion, they have their own enforcement unit that are there to do their responsibilities. This includes the responsibilities in solving the matters of faith, sharia, and morals such as apostasy, immorality, marriage, rights, alumni, and others. For example, the Selangor Islamic Religious Department, Perak Islamic Religious Department, Johor Religious Islamic Department, and others. In the aspect of law and regulation, the concept of Hisbah also have been implemented in one of the institutions which is called Royal Malaysian Police. Their role is different from the first aspect, which is they are responsible in enforcing the law and preserving the peace and prosperity of the country. This range of responsibility also can be considered as one of the purpose of Hisbah. The Royal Malaysian Police has a role to protect the country and ensure the safety of the community from crime and wickedness. Next is in the aspect of municipalities. In Malaysia, each state has a number of municipal councils. They are responsible for providing and maintaining the infrastructure facilities in their respective cities. They are also responsible for maintaining the cleanliness and safety of the infrastructure and environment. The role of municipal council is in fact in line with the concept of Hisbah. Moreover, some councils are also responsible in managing the religious affairs, especially in regards of aurah, morality, and da'wah. For instance, in Kelantan, the state government has declared Kota Baru as one of the Islamic cities since October 2005. Therefore, the city is now considered as a city that implements the concept of Islamic principle. This is in line with their slogan, which is developing with Islam, which means to build a city that implements Islamic elements. Other municipal councils that can be found in Malaysia are Kangam Municipal Council, Langkawi Municipal Council, and many more. They are responsible for their own area. Furthermore, the adaptation of Hisbah also can be seen in the banking and finance institutions. The Council Sharia Supervision and Hisbah emphasize the aspect of compliance with Sharia and at the same time doing the task of Hisbah. This directly indicates that there is also a practice of Hisbah in the banking and finance institution. In Malaysia, there are several institutions that serve to maintain and control these activities that happen in the market. For example, the Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperative and Consumerism that acts as a body that controls and monitors the sales and distribution of essential goods in the market. Moreover, they are also responsible in implementing the right regulations on metric weights and measures to avoid any fraud in the market. They are also responsible in determining and monitoring the price of essential goods such as rice, chicken, fish in the market, so that there will be no overpriced goods in the market. Thus, we can see here in banking and finance, the adaptation of Hisbah is still there, although the name is different.
The main responsibility of the institution of Hisbah is to maintain the purity of faith, worship, and morals, and even protect and defend the dignity of Islam from being tainted by bad elements and misappropriated by irresponsible parties and enemies of Islam. The Malaysian government has established several enforcement bodies such as the Enforcement Division from the Malaysian Islamic Development Department JAKIM, and also from the State Islamic Religious Department JAIN and the State Islamic Religious Council MAIN, that assisted by other Islamic organizations such as Yayasan Dakwah Islamiyah Malaysia YADIM, Pertubuhan Kebajikan Islam Malaysia PERKIM, Institut Kefahaman Islam Malaysia EKIM, Persatuan Ulama Malaysia PUM, and other Islamic organizations. Although in Malaysia, those institutes does not use term Hisbah, but the essence, the implementations, and the functions of Hisbah are implemented by those institutes. The common example of wickedness is negligence and forgetfulness in such as fasting and Friday prayers. In this case, the muhtasib can give warnings, advice, and reprimands as well as punish based on the rules and laws set. In the aspect of the economy, Hisbah helps to ensure that the goods marketed are halal and comply with Islamic requirements. Islamic economics is not solely founded for profit without considering the side effects of religion and the harm that may arise to members of society. In this regard, Islam stipulates that every product marketed must be halal and beneficial to consumers. Goods that are illegal and can cause harm should be prohibited from being sold to the public, like pork, liquor, and clothes. Other than that, Hisbah also helps to combat fraud, lies, and misappropriation of goods and prices. Fraud and lies are common in the economic activities of a society. That is why Islam values true and honest traders in their business and promises punishment for all kinds of fraud. In addition, Hisbah helps to prevent transactions that involve an element of usury. Riba means to increase, grow, and rise. The ruling of riba is clearly stated as haram in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 275. Muhtasib, as the agency that is responsible for business in the market, must monitor and prevent every transaction involving usury. They are empowered to punish the person if found guilty because it is an evil thing that must be prevented. Therefore, the Malaysian government has established the Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperatives and Consumerism, KPD and KK, which aims to enforce the law and protects the rights of consumers. Halal enforcement in Malaysia bears a huge responsibility to ensure halal compliance related to safety, law enforcement, prevention of halal issues. Each halal enforcer has its jurisdiction and laws in exercising its powers to enforce law related to halal products and services. Among the Hizbah institutions that bear the responsibility in protecting, safeguarding, and preserving the safety and security of the community and the country are the Royal Malaysian Police (PDRM), Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC), Royal Malaysian Customs, Malaysian Immigration Department, and others. Regarding surveillance in environmental and health aspects, the responsible parties are the Ministry of Urban Wellbeing, Housing and Local Government, Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, Department of Environment (DOE), Department of Wildlife and National Parks (Perhimpunan), and Ministry of Health Malaysia (MOH). Therefore, the Hisbah in Malaysia has been implemented in many aspects, such as in religion and moral, in economics, in halal industry, in social, and in the environmental.
From another perspective, the role of Hisbah was not only limited to supervision of market, the quality of goods, price controlling, morals, hoarding issues, and business ethics. Hisbah also has a role in modern economic governance, in terms of enhancing the quality of administration and achieving good governance. This part will discuss the role of Hisbah in dealing with contemporary issues in modern economic governance and also corporate governance such as corruption, white-collar crime, money laundering, and others. From our perspective, Hisbah must consist of an authority that moves independently of any internal and external influence. The reason is to avoid those who have a particular interest in the administration system. The administrative system consists of those who are directly and indirectly involved with the administration of the government, whether the civil servant themselves or not. One of the players in governance is the government itself. If Hisbah is influenced by the government, then the role of Hisbah will be very limited in enforcing amar ma'ruf nahi munkar. One of the most notable governance issues is corruption. Corruption is the most major problem that involves unethical behavior that harms the state reputation and weakens the economy. The most corruption cases involve the public official because these individuals have greater authority in the public sector. The role of Hisbah in resolving modern governance issues refers to the role of Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC, the Security Commission Malaysia, and also the Sharia Board in banks or financial institutions. These bodies act as a muhtasib and enforce amar ma'ruf nahi munkar to promote economic prosperity. As the data are shown in the table, there has been improvement in efforts to curb corrupt activities. However, issues began to arise when this body was placed under the government. This means the power posed by these bodies will be some extent be limited, as has been stated before. Rather than strengthening existing institutions and increasing their potential to function as effective watchdogs, the Malaysian government has a habit of creating new institutions and strategies. Malaysia's leadership appears to be efficient in importing new models, but ineffective at implementing them and consolidating them. Therefore, in the current situation, among the efforts that can be done by these agencies is to enhance awareness about corruption in society. Corruption and abuse of power are like cancers, and they have been around for a long time in society. As a result, it is the responsibility of all units in the community to work together to combat corruption and keep clear of it before it becomes a silent killer in the community and workplace culture. The key to combating corruption is to educate and include the people in the process of developing integrity. This awareness is important because most society today are lack of an understanding of corruption. They consider corruption to be the mere bribery only. In addition, each of these agencies must also ensure that every institution in both the public and private sector has anti-corruption policies and legislation in place in order to meet the National Anti-Corruption Plan 2019-2023 plans. Malaysia has enough legislation, there is no doubt about it, but it is not being implemented as intended. So, these Hizbah agencies need to play their role in the implementation of this legislation, regardless of one's background, whether they are upper or lower class citizens.